Welcome back to the Franchise Happy Hour, the podcast where we celebrate the art of franchising, savor the stories of entrepreneurial triumph, and serve up inspiration for the aspiring franchisees. I'm your host, Dylan DeGroat, and today we have a true franchising luminary in our presence. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Lance Graulich, a certified franchise consultant with a rich and diverse history in the franchise world. Lance's journey through franchising is a tale of hands-on experience and a relentless passion for the industry. He's been in the helm of food franchises, including Wingstop and Krispy Kreme, proving his mettle as a franchisee. But that's not all. Lance is also a podcast pioneer, having founded the very popular Eye on Franchising podcast, where he dives deep into the conversations with founders of franchising brands. He's a member of FranServe and has even created a successful donut franchise from scratch. Lance is the embodiment of a franchising guru, and today we're in for a masterclass of the world of franchising. Lance, welcome to the Franchise Happy Hour.
Dylan, I will absolutely drink to that. Thank you for having me, my friend.
Absolutely. We can't thank you enough, brother. And hey, so whether you listening are an aspiring franchisee, a seasoned entrepreneur, or simply someone with an insatiable appetite for the knowledge, this episode has the set to be a banquet for the franchising enthusiast. So without further ado, let's dive right in to the Franchise Happy Hour. All right, Lance, I'm going to crack a little fake beer here. So I don't know if you know this, but I am actually doing a little sober October. So I'm drinking a little NR beer here, but I knew my boy Lance was on here, had to have something. You drinking anything over there tonight?
There might be a little martini over here, but all
right. Yeah.
I have to have a cocktail with you, but I really appreciate you having me on, talking about our favorite subject, franchising.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's going to be great. I'm super excited about this conversation. I've watched your podcast. You've done just a fantastic job with brand, founders, and just diving into that. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about it today. And I'm sure the listeners are, definitely interested in hearing about that and hearing the story behind that. So let's start out here by let's share a little bit about your journey. Obviously, it's one that has a lot of different, ups and downs, and it's been a journey for you, starting donut franchises. But tell us how you got into it and where you're at now.
So I grew up in New York, and I have to, keep this really long story short. I'm going to be 57 this year, so I have a lot to tell. But the highlights are this: grew up in New York. I thought I was going to work on Wall Street with Dad. That's what I was being groomed to do. But I also had two entrepreneurial grandfathers. One was a real estate attorney that bought a lot of real estate, commercial, residential, helped his clients. And then the other grandfather had his own, I almost said donut chain, his supermarket chain that he created from scratch with a little corner bodega was the first of many that became this chain of supermarkets. And Dad was on Wall Street. And, Dylan, I tell people all the time, there's three major pillars or categories of investing. Wall Street, stocks, bonds, crypto, if you want to throw that in there. You have real estate, another category. And the third is business ownership. And franchising has always been that sort of black hole where people that were not in the industry, it's like there was this door that certain people could never figure out how to open to understand the world of franchising. And with the internet and franchise brokers and consultants, that door is now swung wide open, of course. So how did I get into it? You're going to laugh. I was working on Wall Street for Dad, thinking I don't even want to be in New York City anymore. And an uncle called and said, I got some tech money. He made money in tech before anybody else really did. I want to build a TGI Fridays franchise. This was in the 80s. And I joined him and helped him. It started with an acquisition of 4 existing locations in the Phoenix market, Arizona. And I said, well, Arizona's pretty. It's newer than New York. Let me go out for a visit. And
Yeah.
I helped him. So I was with him for 5 years, and from 4 stores to $225 million a year through building new stores, new store openings, in addition to acquiring more. To this day, Ken Green, hello, Ken,
Wow.
my mentor. Ken was the guy that was the operator that ran that whole thing. I'm still friends with Ken today. He's got me more consulting gigs and franchising over the years than anyone. And I
Wow.
learned a lot. I learned a ton and fell into what a franchise was. And we could pause there, because that's when I realized this is pretty cool. We're following
Yeah.
somebody else's system. Now, Fridays really isn't doing well these days.
Mm.
Fridays, Applebee's, Chili's. So it just goes to show that not everything will stand the test of time. You gotta bet on the right horse and pick the right franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, what was the inspiration behind Eye on Franchising? I know it's for the listeners out there on, if you're listening on Spotify, it's EYE, not the letter I. So I think that's such a cool experience. What brought that out?
Like Eyewitness News, EYE, Eye on
Yes.
Franchising. So when I was a successful franchisee, so Fridays was my start, and then I started doing my own stuff. And I had a lot of friends that I guess noticed that I had an attention to detail. I was incredibly focused, pretty, I don't know, outrageously passionate about success. I wanted my people to be amazing. I got really good at hiring amazing people and motivating them. And I had a lot of friends that said many years ago, Lance, you should teach people on how to be a great franchisee. And there was no podcasts in that era. This was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But as podcasts came about, some of those same friends said, you need a podcast. I said, that looks like too much work. I'm not going to do that. And I tabled it, threw that idea on a shelf for a period of time. And it was, we just celebrated the 2-year anniversary of the podcast. And it's ranked high. I'm proud of it. And not only do we talk to founders of brands, we talk to successful franchisees, and in some cases, vendors of the franchise industry that support successful franchise brands and franchisees. So and I happened to fall into franchising through Uncle Steven, and I stayed. So I've loved it ever since.
Excellent. Well, hey, cheers to your growth on that. That's awesome. You guys have been killing it. So
yes, sir.
I love it. And it was a pleasure. When I met you we were in Disney, met you for the first time. And that was such a cool experience, being out there watching the fireworks, just getting to see all that with you, witness it. It was such a cool experience. And as soon as I met you, I was like, this guy, he knows what he's talking about. I was like, if I ever have a podcast, he's going to be on it for sure. So, that day's coming true. I feel absolutely. It's like a little kid getting to talk to, a superhero or something.
I love it. Thank you.
So let's talk about, obviously there are thousands of franchising systems out there. Let's start off with talking a little bit about those misconceptions, right? What do you think when you're talking to candidates? What do you think some of the biggest misconceptions are?
There are a lot of misconceptions. My favorite is it's too expensive to own a franchise. And let me give you my favorite example. I was just telling somebody recently. This guy owned an independent air conditioning company. Independent. He was doing about $700,000 a year, making himself a decent living, working hard, and he hit a plateau. Why do independent owners hit a plateau? Well, they've never done it before, and they have no support, and they reach a comfortable level where they're making a good income. Why work harder? Because that's going to cost them even more money and more time.
Yeah.
So they're happy. So I said to him, he said to me, I should say, Lance, why should I own a franchise, or why should I convert my air conditioning franchise, air conditioning company, to be a franchise? And I said, well, you said you're only doing 700,000 in revenue. No disrespect intended, but one of my favorite air conditioning franchises had franchisees doing over 3 million.
Yeah.
So I think you can afford a franchise fee to get into a system that'll teach you how to grow and scale. Mm-hmm. Likewise, you can afford a royalty for a franchisor to support you for the rest of your
Yes.
life and have a
Mm-hmm.
team at your disposal to help you grow.
Yes.
Oh, and the answer was as simple as, oh, got it. So the misconception number one would be, it's too expensive. It's not
Yeah.
worth it. Bullshit. First of all, value is everything. What's
Mm-hmm.
worth $1 to you could be $100 to somebody else. I know people that drive Mercedes. So do you.
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes isn't worth it to me.
Yeah.
Lexus is worth it to me. I like those, but a Mercedes isn't worth it to me. Dad had one when I was young and got it out of his system pretty quickly. But to other people, they have to drive a Mercedes. That's the standard.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other misconception is you have to be a full-time owner. The business can never function unless you're living and breathing the business. Well, I got news for everybody listening. Also bullshit. Because if you are smart and you pay attention and you're coachable, you're willing to learn, you're willing to trust a proven process, then when you get into that type of franchise, they will teach you in a fast manner and an expedited manner how to get up to speed a lot faster. Remember that guy I told you about that did 700,000? That was his lifetime. That was his best year in like 7 years.
Yeah.
That same air conditioning franchise, if you're not doing 800,000 plus in the first year, you didn't follow the system, and that's in year one. So that's really number two on my list. I would say number three is passion. People get so confused. Oh, well, I'm not passionate about plumbing. Who the heck is passionate about plumbing? We're passionate about making sure whatever we put in that toilet goes down, right? Yeah. So guess what? You're passionate about things working correctly. And the bottom line is, I'm finding a lot of people today that really don't care about what the business is, how boring, how unsexy it sounds. They're passionate about their time and their freedom.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the niche is. It just needs to be something that resonates with them. Can they see themselves in that business? You know, when you see those fancy car commercials and they all look so romantic and nice, and it's always like the California coast or whatever, and you're like, I need that car. That needs to be me in that car. They paint that picture for you to daydream so you can see yourself driving that vehicle. Well, that's what I do for people. I don't create an illusion that is not correct. I get to understand people's skills, people's investment level, people's goals, family life, lifestyle choices. There are people tell me I don't want to work nights and weekends. Okay, there's brands that'll fit you. But when you understand what people want, you could figure it out. But there's quite a few misconceptions, but at least those are three of them.
Yeah, I think that is an excellent point. I really like the idea of what you said about, painting that picture. I think that's really, it's exactly what it is. Hey, if you never take the car to the coast, you can still drive it on the coast, but if you never take it to the coast, you're just going to be driving it on the back roads wherever you're at, right? So yeah, exactly. So it's what you make it, right? And absolutely.
You want to tell people what's possible, Dylan.
Yes. And see, that's where, I like your second misconception as well. I totally agree that you can. I really truly believe that the entire franchise system, each one, unless it's specifically you just out there doing that job, there are so many concepts that they want you to be the executive owner style. They want you to step away. That is like the goal, right? Because if you're not scaling, if you're not growing that business, you're likely not following the system, just like you said. And that's why they are a franchise, because they know how to scale, they know how to grow. It's not like they just kind of threw it together and said, well, this kind of works, all right, just franchise it, right? So no, there's a lot that goes into it. So they're investing a lot.
Let me add on to that. So that second misconception that you have to be a full-time owner. So in 2011, I got a phone call from a guy that I knew a little bit from a restaurant concept that I created in Vegas, a burger concept that was pretty famous. And I met him there, and he called me. He goes, "Can you help us create a donut concept?" And I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Sure. What do you got in mind?" And he said, "I just have a name so far. I want to call it Pinkbox Doughnuts." And he giggled. I said, "Oh, cute name." And then he said, "Can you do everything else?" I said, "So you contribute the name, some money. All right, yeah, let's do it." And
There you go.
I created Pinkbox part-time without a
Wow.
blueprint. So,
Wow.
and it became very famous. Anybody can look it up now. And, I sold my piece after about 5 years, I think it was, and incredibly successful brand. But, what you'll notice about me is I'm a builder, not a maintainer.
Yeah.
I need to keep busy, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't like maintaining. That's the easy part for me.
Mm-hmm. And I think, I don't know if anybody's passionate specifically about donuts. People love donuts because they bring them joy. I don't know how many people are passionate about them. So just kind of
They're
touches
passionate
again
about
to,
sugar, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, exactly. I can see a world where if you could be passionate about beer, right? You got a beer franchise or something. I guarantee you a little bit passionate about that. Now,
Yep.
personally, that's me.
I still have a
But
little
hey,
piece of the action of a brew pub chain that I helped a while
do
back.
you?
Yeah, they're all about craft beer. So
Matt, is how many franchises, like how many franchise concepts have you actually, been a part of or
a
assisted
lot,
in growing? Yeah, it sounds like
a
it.
lot. And when people get tired of paying me a lot of money, I say, when I believe in the concept, I said, just give me some equity. I'm fine with that.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'll
Hey,
take
I
it,
mean,
as we
yeah.
go.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. No, I think that's so cool. And that's why I was excited to have you on here because I think the listeners are truly going to be able to see, how much expertise you have and not just, one specific thing, but also a variety of different things. Being able to help out, people who are coming from whether it's the corporate world or maybe they're in a career transition, maybe they lost their job. Do you have anybody that comes to mind that you've helped out in the process, whether that's the situation or just somebody that you've helped out through the through your consulting that really
Yeah.
sticks out to you?
Well, there are so many people, as the old expression, adversity breeds opportunity. So, like
Mm-hmm.
during COVID, when people were freaking out, a lot of big gurus out there, like Mark Cuban, said, now's the time when
Yeah.
nobody else is looking at opportunities. Now's the time to probably look at them. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no doubt there are a lot of people that are scared. I've been talking to a gentleman for 2.5 years, and he hasn't pulled
Yeah.
the trigger on a franchise. Great guy,
Yeah.
but he's scared. He's got young
Mm-hmm.
kids. He wants to prepare them for college, and in his case, he now thinks he's going to be laid off by the end of this year. And now he's probably ready to pull the trigger. But it's
Mm-hmm.
difficult when, as you certainly know, unless there's pain, think about working
Mm-hmm.
out. Unless
Yeah.
you reach a certain pant size or a doctor tells you finally you better get your ass in the gym because you're getting too big,
Yep.
you need pain. Something has to cause you to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
Owning a business is not easy. There's work
No.
involved that scares a lot of people away. There's work involved in getting yourself in shape if you're not. To maintain being in shape is not so difficult. To maintain a great business is not so difficult. But to do the
Mm-hmm.
work in the first place is difficult. One of my favorite stories is probably a good family friend of mine. When he left the corporate world, he didn't want to be in the corporate world. He was in his early 50s and he had no idea what he wanted to do. And he did his own research before he found a consultant friend of mine that now retired, which is how I know him. And he figured out with that consultant he was going to get a $200,000 SBA loan. That's what he felt comfortable with. He was going to put his 20% down, 40 grand. And then when he closed on that deal, he'd need a couple, 20, 25,000 and some extra working capital, and he would do something. He
Mm-hmm.
thought brick and mortar was attractive to him, but it could be home services. And my consultant friend presented to him the idea of a franchise hair salon. So
Oh.
my now friend fell out of his chair laughing, thinking it was the stupidest idea in the world. Why would you give a bald guy, I didn't tell you, he's bald and obviously does not know how to cut hair. Why would you give him this idea? And as he soaked it in, he realized, wait a second, this isn't a bad idea because I can't even do the work, but I can hire people to do the work. Mm-hmm. Beauticians, people that cut hair for a living, they have to get licenses in most states. They take their job pretty seriously, not like fry cooks where a lot of people don't want to even be a fry cook for a short period of time, let alone for 20 years.
Yeah, right.
So he bought his first Great Clips, rolled some money into a second one, eventually did a large development agreement. Today, he has 19 Great Clips hair salons.
That is awesome.
He makes a lot of money. He's very happy, and he's long retired already. He worked hard for a couple of years, made more money than he made in the corporate world. So that's just one example. I mean, of course, I have tons of examples, but I have multiple friends that not only own one brand, they're multi-brand franchisees. My friend Michael called me recently and said, he lives in Las Vegas like me, and he says, I just bought some restaurants in Indiana. I said, Michael, you don't have any other restaurants in Indiana. He goes, I know, it was a good deal. How does he know it's a good deal? Because he's already in the brand, and another franchisee wanted to retire, and Michael was able to make him an offer within 24 hours. Just has to check the leases, looking through the financials. It's very addictive. Michael has been in has owned franchises for over 30 years.
Wow.
30 years. And that's what you see with a lot of people. When you get in, you get one, you get two. I've interviewed multiple people on my podcast that own 2 different franchises.
Yeah, I could see how it is addicting too. I mean, I've been in the franchise industry now for 7 months. Watch out, going on 8. So,
but you know what, Dylan? Once you have one franchise, it's kind of like investing in real estate. Once you have one rental property, that's the hard part. It's easier to get a second and a third when you have some cash flow. It's no different with a franchise. When you have established cash flow, you have more access to funding.
Yeah, it's almost like it's an opening the door, right? That door is it's slammed shut. It's locked and bolted. It feels like it's all there's no way in. But then as soon as you get a little crack, and it's like, okay, I see the path, but then it swings wide open once you start getting that cash flow. Yeah,
like the door opening in a club.
Yeah,
lights, the music, it's party time.
I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, so, what is if somebody's listening right now and they just want to know a little bit about what they can expect, if they were to reach out to you, what's some things that you're going to talk about? How do you go through matching a franchisee to a potential franchise?
Yeah, I could tell you that I somehow in this year, 2023, I've gotten so many people that have found me because of my podcast or because of a guest appearance on a podcast like this. And I've had people say to me, I work with a consultant, and they just kept trying to shove brands on me that they thought they could probably make a good commission off of. You're not going to do that to me, right? And I started laughing, and I said, I'm so sorry that happened to you, but here's the reality. The reality is I could be retired and I don't have to do anything anymore. I choose to do this because there's one thing I learned from multiple senior citizens that found me, and it was like a divine intervention. Thank you, God, for sending them to me. They gave me advice years ago. Put yourself in a financial position to retire and don't. Put yourself in a financial position to retire and don't. I realized years ago, if I retire, I'm going to die early. For those of you out there that have watched the Blue Zones, it's on like Netflix or whatever. It talks about people that live, more people in certain specific areas of the world that live to 100 plus. One of the biggest reasons they live to 100 plus is because there's a sense of community and purpose in their life. So
Mm.
my purpose, to answer your question, is
Yeah.
I freaking love helping people.
I love it.
Love it. I talk to people 7 days a week. You have to see people, typical corporate folks, and there's many of you listening. I say, yeah, I'm free Saturday or Sunday if you want to talk. They look at me like I'm nuts
Yeah.
because they so look forward to that Saturday and Sunday because they hate their jobs and for the most part their lives, and they're overdue to get a business and do something on their own. And they look at me like, I don't talk on Saturday and Sunday unless I have to. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I love it. The more people I
Yeah.
talk to on the weekend, maybe the less during the week, and I have longer workout during the week. I
Yeah.
don't know. So I love what I do, and the way I do it to help people, I have an assessment, a free assessment on my website that's pretty scientific that I absolutely love, based on your mindset, skill set, life experiences. It gives you a great report on yourself. It gives me an even more detailed report, which I'm
Yeah.
happy to share. And it's on my website. You go to lancegraulich.com or ionfranchising.com. So, helping people is what I do. So I will
Yeah.
never retire. I will do this for the next 40 years or as long as God allows me to do this, because I get to help people. And what most people forget or don't even know is that unlike real estate, where you pay the commission at closing on a real estate deal, franchising isn't like that. If you never found
Mm.
me, and you go direct to a brand, you're going to pay the same franchise fee to join a brand, whether you used me or not. I'm truly a free advocate, and I want you to be happy. I just got like my 7th referral from a client.
Wow. That's really good.
As a matter of fact, he texted me right before this. Hey, did you talk to so-and-so? And they're business partners that own hotels and whatever. And I go, as a matter of fact, I had call number 2. I got to jump on a podcast. Talk to you later. So I get, this year, I haven't done any paid lead generation. I get everything through referrals.
Wow.
And I absolutely love it. I'll talk to strangers. It's okay. I'm very friendly. I'm very nice. I love doing Zoom, so I get to be face to face with people. It feels like, we're having cocktails or a cup of coffee and get to really know people.
Yeah.
So that's the short answer. If you want to know about the process and what I take them through, I'll let you know.
You just come find out, right? You gotta come
No,
find
no,
out
I could tell you some little tricks right
No,
now.
it's all right. I think we should let the listeners come to you and find out. I
All
think
right.
that's you gotta it's what is it? The carrot and the
Dangle
stick,
the
right?
carrot.
That's it, right? So you know what I loved about what you just talked about? You kind of painted that there's that old saying that, hey, if you love what you do, you never work a day in the life.
True
Right.
story.
But you're like the epitome of that, because I think if you love what you do, and then also you can retire, but you don't have to, you're actually choosing to do what you do. And you're not choosing to do what you do based on, hey, I'm going to make commission off this company, so I'm going to push people that way. You're choosing to do what you do solely because your passion is helping people.
My wife laughs at me all the time because she realized that. And I made her retire last year from being a school principal. Last August, I said, honey, you're done. You don't need this crap anymore. You don't need this nonsense with this awful school district and the way they treat administrators. We don't need that money. And she goes, are you serious? I said, yeah. And she retired, and she became a certified franchise consultant as well. She helps in the business and with the podcast. And but she is pretty shocked sometimes when, she knows I'm honest, and she's certainly honest. We have high integrity. We never push people towards a brand that we'd make more money on versus another. Right. It's what my belief is, what comes around goes around. And if I put somebody in the best brand for them, they will tell people about how they were treated. I have recently collected so many great testimonials on how I have performed with people, in their own words, obviously. And I haven't done anything with them yet. So I have to put them on our website.
Well, I'm excited to I'll have to check out your website. You have to let me know once you get them up. I'd love to I love checking out how people have responded to working with a consultant. and also their experience that they've had. I think it's truly something that keeping that knowledge up, just seeing how other people are doing it. And that's honestly, my whole main goal about starting this podcast was just getting an opportunity to learn more about you, learn more about consultants. I feel like y'all never get a chance to talk about yourself, right? So that's what I wanted to do. And so it's fun.
It does
and
happen.
yeah. So, we keep it light here, but so, we talked about some success. One part that I always love to talk about is let's talk about the difficult parts, right? If it's whether it's the difficult part for the franchisee, or maybe it's something that you personally have gone through, what's been the hurdles or the, obstacles that you've had to overcome in franchising?
I made some mistakes, quite a few mistakes with partners. So every time I see or hear someone that mentions a partner, I now coach them on all the bad stuff I know about potential partnerships. Number one, have you defined roles and responsibilities? Is this going to be written in this operating agreement? Typically with an LLC, there's going to be an operating agreement. And, are you on the same page? And unfortunately, there's some gray areas. So partnerships, I've made a lot of mistakes. I had a bad first marriage. I had bad business partners. When you get in the restaurant business, it's the largest. Restaurants are always the largest investment. And when you have a larger investment than anything else, sometimes you don't want to either be on the hook on your own, or there's easier ways to access capital, but it comes at a price. And I made plenty of mistakes with partners. So I advise people constantly. And I tell people, I'll walk them through. I've walked plenty of partners through, like 2 partners I talked to today. I said, when you're ready, let's define very clearly your roles and responsibilities. And then you use your own business attorney, like for the LLC, or I can show you somebody, and they'll finalize it, because I'm not on a hook for creating this, but I'm going to give you the ideas that need to be incorporated. The attorney will add even more. I just play an attorney on TV, not in real life.
No, you're providing that roadmap, though. It's like it's more of a guide. So I think that is super important. I've had some conversations with individuals, who have been looking at partnerships, and it is, unless you have that established, like I sooner than later, seriously, you do not want to sign a franchise agreement and then be like on the back end, oh, now let's like define how this is going to look. Cause now it's like, well, you're already on the hook for the franchise. Now we have to, all of a sudden we don't agree on what we're going to do in this. And
you know what, Dylan, it's a business prenup. That's all it is. It's a business prenup. And if you have a good attorney and you have the right advice, you could think of all of the really difficult things without having the emotion attached to it, when and if situations arise that there's either a breakup or one person is not doing what the other feels they're supposed to. And, you go back to the attorney to look at the agreement to say, I'm sorry, but Dylan, this is what we agreed to.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely
supposed to be working in the business 30 hours a week. And as far as we know, you're not even there 15. I mean, those are things that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to have it written down. You want to have it agreed upon. Absolutely. I think that's a great tidbit of information. If you're out there, you're thinking about partnering with someone, do it. Talk to it. Absolutely. Call Lance. Call Lance. He'll definitely. I'm gonna let you leave your info at the end here. So definitely wait for that. You gotta wait till the end of the episode, though. Another stick, right?
That's it.
So, hey, if our listeners are just really mostly considering entering the world of franchising, obviously this is a huge world. There's thousands of different brands. There's thousands of different categories of brands. It seems overwhelming. What is some advice that you would give to somebody who's thinking about entering the franchise world for the first time?
Yeah, the obvious advice that I'm going to say is work with someone like me. Find yourself a franchise broker. I call myself a franchise broker, consultant, and strategist. So part of what I'm going to do, I'll give you a little bit more of a secret of working with me, is I look into your what. And your
Oh, that's different.
what is, it's basically RISG. It's your RISG.
Your
R is what
risk.
role do you intend to play? I is your investment. S are your skills. And G are your goals.
Okay.
And I roll that all together. And obviously, when I know your investment, look, I have probably about 850 brands in every industry right now that I represent. And so just on investment alone, we'll eliminate quite a few. But I
Yeah.
have tons of businesses. That's another huge misconception about franchising is when I mentioned expensive, like some people think overpriced, they're
Mm-hmm.
gouging you on fees. And I answered that earlier. But when it comes to investment level, people also have this wrong tract of thinking that all franchises are 500,000 and above. I have
Yeah.
so many brands under $200,000. As I described earlier, with an SBA loan, you put down 40 grand, 20%. You bring some working capital to closing, post-closing liquidity, as the lenders love to call it, and you're off and running. And you can
Yeah.
be a semi-absentee owner in some cases.
Yeah.
So plugging all that in, it's a real live person I'm talking to. So really, anybody out there that's watched silly shows like The Bachelor,
Mm-hmm.
The Bachelorette, or whatever, and everybody always talks about being vulnerable. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
more vulnerable people are in the process with me to tell me their hopes, their dreams, their
Mm-hmm.
concerns, what they are most worried about, and who's more risk averse, them, their wife, spouse, whatever. And I start really understanding these people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just me presenting 4 or 5 brands and we find one immediately. That does happen quite often.
Mm-hmm.
But it also happens that I show them 10 or 15 brands. And then they go,
Yeah.
aha, I want to talk to Joshua Tree experts, as an example. Great brand, by the way. I don't know if you know about it. So,
Thank you.
so bottom line is, it's a process. And if you trust the process and you go along with the process, there are tremendous opportunities. There's nothing ventured, nothing gained. My
Mm-hmm.
services are free. So you have
Yeah.
a conversation to hear about those possibilities.
I might contact you after this, Lance, see if we can get me into franchise ownership. I'm
Sounds
telling you,
good.
I love it, man. You're inspiring me. So hopefully the listeners are feeling that too. So I'm ready to go.
Love it.
Oh man,
We're
that's
ready for
awesome.
you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. I'm sure somebody out there definitely felt that. And hopefully if it's not today, if it's not tomorrow, it's down the road. And as well as I do, just like you said, you're talking to that person for 2 years. Hey, it's a journey. Every journey at some point will come to that end. And you will hit that point. You will find your destination. You just gotta be willing to take that first step, right?
Happy to be your guide on your franchise journey.
I love it, man. That's awesome. Well, thank you again for that. So hey, before we get into the little surprise I got for you at the end here,
Uh-oh, surprises.
you know me, I love surprises. So if I'm a listener and I want to reach out to you, Lance, what is the best way to do that for you?
So the podcast is Eye on Franchising, EYE on franchising.com is the website. My name, Lance Graulich, Graulich. LanceGraulich.com is a different website. Still all me. You can contact me either way. I have a big Instagram account, Lance.Graulich, same name. So if you put that in the show notes, they'll find me easily. Nobody else that I know of has my name.
Gotcha. Well, I will definitely put that in the show notes for everybody listening. And then so if you're out there, you're like, hey, Lance is my guy. I can tell for a fact that he's going to consider me rather than that commission. He's going to actually take what my hopes, dreams, fears, what did you call it? The sprig, right? So is that what it was? The sprig?
The
Hey,
RISG,
the risk.
RISG.
Hey, he's gonna find my risk, and I believe he could do that. Definitely reach out to Lance.
Yep.
All right, Lance. Well, time for a little segment that I like to call Ask Chat GPT. So what I've done is I've gone to ChatGPT and I've asked it to give me a situation that you would be in that's just kind of unusual. And you're going to have two different outcomes and you got to choose which path you're going to take. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So here is the situation. Lance, you find yourself in the middle of a whimsical carnival in a parallel universe. The carnival is unlike anything you've ever seen. There are two attractions that stand before you, each more of a spectacle than the last. The first attraction is a towering cotton candy mountain that sparkles with all the colors of the rainbow. Adventurous souls can climb the mountain, tasting different flavors at every turn. And at the view at the top is said to unveil the secrets of the universe. The second attraction is a carousel that spins not on the ground, but in the air, held aloft by a swarm of helium balloons. Riders float graciously above the carnival, and the carousel's music is rumored to play the melody of their heart's deepest desire. You must now choose whether you are going to ascend the cotton candy mountain, savoring the flavors of the cosmos, or take a ride on the airborne carousel, dancing among the clouds.
Easy money. Cotton candy all the way.
Cotton candy, I love it, dude. That one made me hot reading. I don't know why. That was just so funny. I don't know about the cotton candy. That was so funny. I actually don't read those before I actually come on here. So I was like, what?
What did I get myself into?
Well, yeah, but no. All right. So, hey, Lance is out there. He's taking the cotton candy mountain. I love that. He's hungry. He wants to taste that sweet, different flavors all the way up, right?
That's it.
And if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. That's the easiest way to put it, right?
True story.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Lance, thank you so much, brother, for being on the podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure. If you ever, need anything from me, you know how to reach me. But everybody, if you're out there, you're listening, I can promise you that you will not be disappointed if you talk to Lance. And on that note, cheers, brother. Cheers to you. Cheers to me. And cheers to franchise success.
Thanks, Dylan. Changing lives.
Changing lives.